GM, welcome to another Touchgrass podcast episode. Today we have a really special guest. We have my friend Saumya from Base. We go back and forth on Twitter. I've known him before when he was a founder himself, and now he's transitioned more into an ecosystem leading role. Saumya, welcome to the pod.
Hmm. Love to be here, Rachit. I think we've been jamming a lot on Twitter, and I think it's about time we just like got on the call and recorded
Yeah,
ourselves like yapping.
me, you, Wormhole India, Aptos
I
India, like
swear.
everyone's just going back and forth. Um,
Yeah.
cool. Okay, so the purpose of this episode, I wanted to bring Saumya on the pod, talk a little bit about go to market in India. His tweet, I think last week or the week before, where he just went on like this super big explanation how people are thinking about India. It's wrong. I think that caught my eye. I was like, we just have to bring Saumya on. Uh, I also think Base's approach to how they're thinking about GTM in India is very, very different. Want this episode to be like a one-on-one for anyone thinking about doing go-to-market in India, but also for like people like me, everyone else who's trying to do stuff in India as an explainer as well. I think
Yeah.
we can start it off. I think the most basic question that everyone has, everyone focuses on like the developer community in India, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But what do you think about like the user demographic in India? Like, what does the average crypto user look like? How do you define it internally? Any thoughts there?
Hmm. So it's actually like layers of crypto users in India, and this I recently discovered when I was like traveling around and just asking people questions. But largely, there's one category of crypto user which is like builders, which you'll see very active on crypto Twitter, at least Indian crypto Twitter, right? Where people these are that are attending events, that are earning in crypto, getting gigs, participating in different sort of like ecosystems and communities. That's one category of user, and even that user is not like on chain, right? Like it's they do use some products, but they may be in swap on dexes, but majority of their holdings are like BTC, USDC, ETH, right? And that's like the builder category. But then there's also this other category of like trader, retail user. There's like miners. They're like very India's so vast, and I have found that there's no average crypto data user. There's no average crypto user, but they're like very layered sort of personas. And then there is so even if you go to like Aurangabad, you'll find retailers. So tier two, tier three cities, wherever you'll find people that have invested in crypto, that know about crypto, that know about Bitcoin, and that's largely a function of centralized exchanges running a bunch of campaigns, people seeing their friends get rich, people hearing about mining and how it pays back cost in like 3 months and so again layers of you'll find people in Delhi and traders in Gujarat that do a lot of dealings within crypto and things like that. So there's the P2P user, there's the speculator investor, there's the builder, like various sort of personas.
Yeah, and I think based on like the Western perception of India, the only one thing that I would add on to it is there are obviously layers, but the portion of Indian users you see on Twitter is not just the average crypto audience within India. Like
100%, yeah.
it's way beyond that, and I think to an extent, like between like all the Asia countries that I've visited and I've interacted with, I think in terms of like comparisons with Western audiences, India is very similar to how the US is probably in like a tiered section of crypto users. Do you guys have any thoughts there? Like, do you ever think about that in terms of like the similarities between Western audiences and India and how that sort of works?
I mean, honestly, no. I generally don't. I focus here. I focus on India. I think about people here and how can like crypto make their lives better. And so largely focuses to understand the user here. So I haven't given much thought on the Western user. It's different, obviously, because like levels of education is different. Overall, like aspiration, ambition, risk appetite, everything. Like even in India, it varies from state to state. It's like super hard to sort of compare and
Yeah.
benchmark. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we mentioned crypto Twitter. I think one of the things I find really funny is there's so many anons out there who are all like so many of the
Yeah.
anons out there are Indians itself. They don't say
Yeah.
they're Indian or but most of the people on Twitter you follow, you think they are of the West, but they're actually Indian. The traders, there's so many people out there. You think they are from the West or other regions, but they are from India. So that's pretty
Yeah.
interesting. And another thing, like every year we see this adoption report come out every year, and that says that India has the most number of investors out of anyone else. Like I know that
Yeah.
number, maybe 10, like a big, very big number, which is always kind of, I always find it fascinating that how is this true? And so many of my college friends or anyone I know, they are not really interested, or even of my
Hmm.
age, they're not really interested. But the number
Yeah.
of investors is more than the people who invest in the stock market. It shows in these reports. How much of that is
Yeah.
true? Like they throw around
Sure.
figures like 10 million or 15 million of people invest in crypto. Uh, how much of this is real? Or
Yeah.
yeah,
I think like so. Last I checked, this number was around where the people that in so it's 2x or 3x the number of people that invest in mutual funds, right? Which is nuts.
yeah,
So that's one way to look at it in terms of like quantum, right? But the average, I think the average Indian user, say, has invested 100 rupees or 200 rupees in crypto, right? Like the so that changes how crypto operates in India, and that's the scale of how much people are investing here. So it's not so much about how many people own it. It's about, okay, like what kind of volume uh, of crypto do people here own, and that's also something to think about as you think from a like retail point of view. But I don't know. This is one argument. The other argument is the IPL sort of argument, where you think that, okay, when IPL was getting started, or think cricket in 90s, right? There's like one advertiser coming in. There's like Pepsi, Coke, who are advertising the Sahara, and nobody would think that India could consume at that point in time. Now look at IPL, right? It's like entertainment bonanza. So it's India can learn to consume. It just needs to like find trust, find appetite, and it'll grow. So that's how, like, if you're thinking of India as a market, think of it as a long-term market. Think of it where you want to like invest, show people value, find like win their trust, and then they're gonna like continue backing you. Their appetite is what I mean. Yeah.
For sure. And I think that really comes back to like the Indian demographic of what like the projects that people are aware of. I tweeted this out the other day where I was like, Polygon is the Ripple of India. Like every Indian dad knows about Sandeep, knows about Polygon, and they're super interested in that story. How do you think these communities form, Swami? Like I would assume that's a very big part of your role, like understanding how different crypto communities in India form out. Do you think they operate in like a silo where the Gujarati community is separate, or is it more like ecosystem based where the Solana community is separate? How are community formations happening in India?
That's a good question. I've actually like I feel I don't think there's like a way where community formation has happened. I think it's the way this has worked is that Polygon, again, Indian project, put in a lot of money in helping other builders grow like really early on. And that led to a lot of builders coming to build here, right? And there's like different categories of builders. They're like high signal people coming in, they're like mid signal people coming in, they're like low tier people coming in. Everyone's sort of coming in to build because people are seeing for different motivations, right? People see there's a like as a new space to build in, they see easy money or like whatever, like depending on what your motivation is, you're coming in here, right? Then I feel like Solana came in and built out super team here first, and took that model and scaled it everywhere else. That led to this large thesis playing around the super team model, right? Where uh, everyone thinks that this is the way to do communities, where you come in, you build a small elite group of people and builders and support them thoroughly, and then that becomes your GTM for that particular market, and allow them make sure that they start earning in crypto, their lives change, and that becomes case studies for other people to want to be a part of this exclusive sort of community. So those have been like two major like reasons why, because these ecosystems put in money in India early, got traction, found builders for like for whatever reason. I feel like some things worked, some didn't, but some that worked clicked so well that allowed for other ecosystems to come in here. Now, from a community standpoint, I think it's been what it's led to. is like a plethora of WhatsApp groups and TG groups of people uh, thinking about the space and talking about it, right? And it's mostly very agenda driven, where it's like when you go join a fitness club, you go for that fitness community, right? Like here, the agenda is I get to know the Web3 community in my region, in my city, around a particular ecosystem. So it could be driven through like various factors, but those are, and in general, I would say like it's the same people in multiple communities, right? So it's not necessarily like mutually exclusive. So those ecosystems intersect, people intersect through various like geos, ecosystems, and even like separate sort of product thesis.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
that's super
one of the
interesting.
I have like quick story. Like I when I was in my first year of college, I think Polygon did this India tour, like where they went
Hmm.
to all the cities. It was not like a major event kind of thing. It's like
Mm.
small events in these
Roadshow.
local places.
Yeah.
Yeah, so me and my friends were just went to just grab some merch, like see what's up. It was not like
Mm.
I didn't know anything about crypto back then, but what kind of resulted from that is people who went there, some of them started their own communities in their colleges, like small
Mm.
blockchain club or crypto club, and that kind of evolved them. Even though they're working at different jobs, they're still tuned into what's happening on chain. They're buying
Mm.
NFTs, they're playing in the trenches. So I think that had a like big role in kind of understanding the space. And they're not even on
Hmm.
crypto Twitter. They just from going to
Yeah.
these events and getting activated in that way. So that's pretty interesting,
Mm.
I would say.
No, but KG, there's like a flip side to that, and this is gonna be an awesome segue into Saumya's tweet the other day. But like people in the West, they see the Polygon model, exactly what you just explained, KG. Like this is like a myth in Western circles. Like this is how to do events in India. Then there's like the super team model where they also have curated experiences in cities, and then you see like these you see every ecosystem trying to replicate that, and you see all these posts on Twitter. It looks pretty good. But yeah, Soumya, talk to me about that. Talk to me about that post. We'll add it on the screen. Walk me through it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll tell you why I wrote that first, right? Like, one was that I, I'm like inherently like fully patriotic and I think about India a lot. I think about us growing as a nation a lot. And when people come here and put money in this country, they put that money to expect results, right? Like there's an agenda. There's like a larger view of why they're investing in India. They want something out of it. With most ecosystems, that's like builder mind share. People building on their like ecosystems, chains, projects, whatever, right? So you come in here and you put in, I know, 200K to $1 million. You expect outcomes, right? What happens when you do run the same playbook with people that are not exactly motivated or thinking deeply about what they're running? Because they're thinking from mercenary point of view, okay, what can we get from this ecosystem or chain or project? Uh, what the chain will experience or this ecosystem is going to experience is gonna like we invested so much, we went to so many cities, we got zero outcomes, right? And that's gonna reflect badly because then they will speak in their circles in the West or wherever they go because everyone is meeting each other, right? And it's just like such a tight knit community that they're gonna meet each other and they're gonna talk about, oh shit, I invested 2 million in India, it went to zero, right? That will lead to other people not wanting to invest in India. And I don't want that, right? So I feel it's important for me to call that out. And that was the reason I wrote it, right? So now the post is largely that there's a way events are run in India is that a lot of people in communities that run these events will go to different ecosystems and will sell the India story and be like, hey, invest in India. By doing a road show across different chains, they will go to different cities and they will partner with local city chapters and DAOs and those cities and split costs, right? And they'll give 50% or whatever. Now, what you have is you've already it's just like layers of brokers after brokers after brokers. To what extent, like what's coming out of it? End result is like a few college students of some club in attend the same event by different ecosystems because it's just like rinse and repeat, right? The strategy is to go to one ecosystem after. It's nuts, it's so bad, right? It's terrible. And I feel if other people will come in here and experience this, they're going to talk about it. The word's going to get out that, okay, this is not a great ecosystem. When in reality, it's a great ecosystem. You did not reach the right people because you went to the wrong broker, right? So this I feel like is important to call out, is important to think about deeply, is important to get the right partners that think deeply about what you want to run. And events in general is like super low ROI. For again, like as an ecosystem project, you're thinking about uh, what is the long term value for builder, right? Like what is my customer acquisition cost for a builder? And then when you're thinking these things, you're thinking, okay, how much are we spending? What result are we driving eventually in the next 1 to 5 years, right? And that is super low from an event specific standpoint. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
And you know what's
like how
KG, before you go on, KG, like the funny thing about this whole dynamic is that at the end there's a college kid who's actually organizing this who gets nothing. And that's like the wildest thing out of this whole experience. When I talk to
He
like
gets
people who are
exposure.
organizing this, yeah, they get
he gets
exposure, they get
exposure,
resume building experience, whatever. uh
he
it's
gets
pretty crazy. But yeah, and me and Soumya have had a lot of conversations about this. uh and Soumya has told me that India, like in India, people already know each other, and the people you want to know, like everyone's already connected in that circle. So the whole events thesis doesn't make sense because you have the same people showing up, and everyone already knows each other. So there is no point, doing those rinse and repeat events.
Yeah,
Which I think
I mean
Soumya segues
the
into.
only
Yeah, go for it.
sorry, the only caveat there is I'm not saying there's no merit to events, right? There is, right? Like you still want people to meet. If you're a new project, you still want to meet the current circle, right? So one event is fine, get to know everyone, right? But running it across cities will not lead to outcomes unless you really think through what you want to drive through whatever you're planning.
Yeah, I think one thing to sort of I want to shout out, like we did an event in Triple IT Nagpur that ended up resulting in the college actually starting a blockchain club, and now
Yeah.
we've started inviting our partner ecosystems to sort of do virtual events with them, and that's also a way that we've been fostering that. But again, like one thing I want to call out, there was just one college kid, Naman, who was really excited about it. He reached out to me and Smith. He was like, Rachit, can you help us? And
Mhm.
Smith flew out there. Like the only cost to us was Smith flying out there. Like we
Mm.
didn't pay any broker anything. Swami, have you also noticed that a lot of ecosystems in India have gotten a lot smarter about how to hire in India as well? I think that shift started with the super team, and now it's become a lot more rigorous where people are interested in hiring an India lead, but they've become a lot more thoughtful about what that means. And it's more spokesperson and strategy rather than, okay, someone who can just execute.
Yeah, I mean, so honestly, it's like a handful of names, right? If you want to come in and hire in India, like reach out to me, I'll like help you. But basically, it's super simple who you would go to because you've seen like there's so much. I think the way to hire is to hire from the ecosystem, right? Like someone who's been building, sharing, talking, yapping, creating, all of that. That is one approach. The other approach is to just like find what you really need from a skill set point of view and see who can execute that skill set. Like I was recently hiring for a role and like Rachit, and that's the approach I took to hire. And that has been like insane, right? Like on how we've been working together. So I don't know, like hiring is also very tricky. But from an ecosystem point of view, my sense is that again, it's like such a small circle, right? Of people that operate here. And even ecosystems that are hiring are taking a longer sort of like window of due diligence to understand. I think that's what you mean. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I think our audience would really love to hear your story of how you got into base. Tell us the FBI story. Tell us how,
Yeah.
going from Purple Pay to FBI, how that started. I think this is like alpha for anyone who wants to be in this position where they want to be an India lead. I think this story is really inspirational, and we should tell it as many times as we can.
Yeah, I mean, so for starters, I didn't care or didn't want to be an India leader. It was not on the roadmap. I had shut down my company and I was just like, I wanted to be very intentional about what I did next, which meant which is why, right? Like I didn't find other people to work with, and I just like went alone, started thinking deeply about what was my thesis in the space without borrowing it from what VCs were saying, which meant that I had to actually like try out everything. So I was like, at that point in time is when I truly got into the space. I became like fully on chain. Even if you go look at my wallet history, you'll realize that's where it changed, right? So I started DJing a lot. I started like playing around with, because the moment you start playing around with different tokens and speculating, you the only way to do it well is to understand it. Right. Like then you need to try out those products and projects, and you start reading on chain data, you start analyzing all of that, and it will give you a pulse of the space. You start hanging out in different, very subculture-ish niche communities and DAOs, and I think that's the only way to do it right. So that's what I did. I also like shout out to this guy Joel who runs Decentralized, and I remember writing to him, and I was like, dude, uh, you know what? Here's what I'm thinking. And at that point, I was thinking of setting up like a venture studio because I could build anything. It's like, what do I build next was my like idea. And he's like, dude, go solo, right? Like spend some time truly crafting your thesis and understanding the space for what it is. And that's what changed the game. Like I honestly took his advice and spent a lot of time just thinking deeply about the space. And uh, yeah, that led to me building my thesis, which was around scaling Bitcoin and consumer social. And then I spent some time with a few like Bitcoin builders to build something there, like an eigenlayer for Bitcoin of sorts. But spent some time there, then realized that's boring for me. And I want consumer social was my, I was also spending time on Farcaster, and like consumer social had started picking up just before frames came. And I found this more exciting. And that led to me first being very active on Farcaster, becoming a voice on Farcaster, building out frames, and then Rahul, I pinged Rahul that frames were coming out. There was no Indian builder at the time, and correction there, like there are few Indian builders now. I've realized, but at least I didn't know those builders that were building it, or I didn't know they were Indian, right? So that led to me putting together a hackathon. When we put together a hackathon, we realized that oh shit, we just got in like $25,000 of capital really quickly, right? We pieced it together in 3 days. It was insane. On just putting everything together. It's like I think Thursday is when we decided. Friday, Rahul flew out. 2 days we got like a space, venue, funds, people coming to build. 10, 12 frames came out. Three of them went viral. So that like kicked us like sudden momentum. Yeah. Then I did one base meetup, called everyone, and I was like, "Hey, dude, like I find this ecosystem interesting." And but again, there's no agenda here, right? Like there's, I just liked Pace as an ecosystem. I liked Jesse because he's like super hands-on, and nobody was doing it at the time. Now it's becoming slightly more mainstream, where like the founder of an ecosystem will like hang out with builders or like spend more time. But Jesse was incredibly thoughtful and still is, right? And in terms of how he thought about problems, builders, because we were then building one product, which is like Omegle for Farcaster called Showcast, and so that experience of building that uh, and running a bunch of so we continued building products, and because we were building, we said, okay, other builders that want to build on Farcaster, you want to join. We set up a group, we're building. We called it Farcaster Builders India. We thought FBI is a cool name. That led to FBI. That led to then one day I was like, okay, I'm bringing people together in Bangalore, and that's when other someone was like, hey, I will do it in Bombay. That led to like 30 people signing up to do events in their cities. And I know like we've done these events, but we spent like $200 for an event, right? It was like pizza money. So that's the difference, right? Like it was organic. I didn't like there was no planning to run these events. It was more okay. We would get people together. We would talk about what's happening within the base ecosystem and how could someone get involved. And so we've done these events, and learnings come from these events as well, right? On what works and what doesn't work. And yeah, I think what happened after that. Then there was on-chain summer. So FBI actually became quite big on Farcaster, and it let us. There's also like the Degen tipping time happening when Degen sort of scaled massively. That led to people that were in FBI early getting lots of like drops, lots of There are like trading communities that came out of FBI. There are like different, like I think six subgroups within FBI, and suddenly we realized that we didn't want to structure. Like initially, we thought we'll build out the super team model, and I think it was slightly like a month in, we realized that okay, we are not, like the super team, core team had their own strengths, right? That's not our strength. What is our strength is product and building, and we want to focus on that, and that allowed us to just like fully focus on running programs deep, where we bring people in together, have them build with us because we are building. It's there's like zero agenda, right? Like even to that point, and because we were not taking money from anyone, we could do whatever. So it's not that like base was funding us or we had offers. We said no to everyone because you don't want to like marry yourself to an ecosystem or so the moment you take money from someone, then like it comes with obligations. And I had spent so much time being a founder. I wanted zero obligations. I wanted to just like have fun building. And yeah, I think that piece, the fact that we said no to money, was important in helping us build something that truly was builder first. And we then built out like a small dev agency that funded all of like our like time at FBI. Yeah, but eventually we realized that's also like a flawed model where because then there's like conflict of interest, right? Where you're getting something that should ideally go to the builder, but you're keeping it yourself because you've got like business coming in and you want to grow that business. So we shut down that business and we realized, okay, we want to be like a fully ecosystem play. But being an ecosystem play means you don't make money here. And it's honestly like extremely coincidental that around that time is when, because FBI did so well, Base decided to expand internationally, and then they wanted someone to lead international. That's how like I got in, and that is also like coincidentally I was having a baby at the time, and I didn't want to take up a traveling job. And but when they decided to hire for India, I was like, "With this I can do," and that led to yeah. That's how. Funny story is that in fact, the team reached out to me asking for suggestions because they thought I won't be interested in the role because I was having a baby. And then I told them, okay, I'm the suggestion. My recommendation is me. So that's how I got, yeah, I mean, that led to joining Coinbase. And it's been like, it was September last year. And since then, it's been like a bunch of things. Insane learnings on how the ecosystem currently works and uh, just grounding on thinking from first principles and what do we want to do and how do we want to do it. And yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
That's beautiful, man. I mean, I see this so often in on Twitter and like these kind of stories, and I think the main takeaway is find what you really like and you're having fun doing it, and dedicate your time and efforts into just kind of growing what you like and as you're learning stuff. And as you said, like all you did, like the events, the meetups, everything was something you hadn't planned, and it was just something you were having fun doing it, and you had built out a thesis on the consumer social side. And I've seen this like across ecosystems. Like some people really like gaming and they dedicated everything for Avalanche or something like that, and they're now working at Avalanche. Someone who has been in Hyperliquid Bull since the early days, have been trading on it, are now building on Hyperliquid. So
Yeah.
that's like the playbook there. Like find your play and find your niche and kind of grow into it. Uh, Another thing like I really love every time you post on Twitter is don't buy your first crypto, own your first crypto. Is that like your one of the main thesis, like how you want to onboard India to crypto, where you want to present them with opportunities to earn their first crypto? I think one of the main taglines is that. Can you kind of expand on that? Like, is that like your main play to kind of tap into different audiences in India?
So one like that is Akshay's thesis, like full mad credit to BD on sort of building it out. This is borrowed, and I believe in it, and I think it makes sense. Where the moment you earn your first, in not just crypto, just the moment you earn your first dollar on the internet is different, right? Like it changes you. My first dollar on the internet came like 10 years after I'd been working as like in consulting, investment banking, all that, and then I earned my first dollar when I built out a product, right? And I think that is just madness where you realize, oh shit, right? Like zero dependency on anyone else and you can do it. Now, crypto, I think is like seamless capital coordination allows to do it faster, cheaper, more efficiently. You get paid like global rates with whatever you do, and it's like more risk friendly, right? So it doesn't matter if you spend time in consulting or investment banking, you could do go to marketing with someone and they'd still pay you because they see value in what you do. So yeah, that's the thesis on the builder sort of side, where we want to make sure you want to make sure that you are successful in what you do. So I spend a lot of time with high like quality sort of builders, uh, understanding the like 3, 6, 12 month goals and seeing how can we support you get there, right? Because you need a few case studies and that's about it, right? Like few people doing well leads to like insane word of mouth as opposed to just like spraying it everywhere and not really being able to create that kind of like first hand impact. Yeah.
I think Gage, it also comes back to people in India don't want to off ramp or like on ramp. They
Mm,
feel really scared about linking their bank account to any sort of
yeah.
decentralized wallet. So the thesis around earn your own crypto, when it's as simple as posting on Zora, for instance, or Farcaster, it's just a lot easier for them to participate in. That's why the super team earn model also worked. That's
Yeah.
also a big component to it. The other component, as Thomas said, like the purchasing power parity is very different in like
Yeah.
APAC in general. Uh,
Yeah.
I've noticed that people in India, especially, are more motivated towards jobs. Like the
Mm,
whole college club, like
mm.
everything around college clubs is run around the fact that there's a president who is telling a first year student that, hey, if you do this, this, and
Correct.
this, you'll get a job in JP Morgan in fourth year.
Yeah.
Like our whole culture is sort of programmed to do what's best ROI wise. And if you can actually show, like, okay, you can actually earn your first crypto doing this, it motivates a lot of people towards that goals. Then after that, like as people evolve in the crypto space, you see sort of people looking for grants a lot more. You see people, trying to make the 100x. That's like the typical journey that I've seen. I think for my journey and Soumya's journey from like consulting to crypto, like we've been really fortunate in a way where we had someone trust in us or like believe in us for us to make the shift. A lot of people who come out of the Indian ecosystem are actually college kids who went to a Polygon event and they came on chain, earned their first crypto. Um, Soumya, on that note, tell us, okay, so you did all of this as like an individual contributor or like an individual person just sort of contributing to an ecosystem. Once you came on to base, there's another thesis of like how we want to be product first and builder first. How did that translate into like a base fellowship? I saw the photos from the base fellowship 2.0 in Dharamshala. That looked awesome.
That's
Talk
true.
us through
Yeah.
that thesis. Like, I want to curate this particular experience. How does that go around?
Yeah, like some caveat there is we ran this the first edition of the fellowship through FBI last year, right? That's where it started, and that's when we had zero money to do it, right? This time we had money. The first time we did it, we just like thought we'll do it, and we just willed it into existence, and that was nuts to think about it because it was expensive to run it. Right? Like it cost some. Last year we spent $40,000 running it, and there were like 16 fellows, which is a fair amount of money. When you are just like funding it, and we crowdsourced a lot of capital. We got like we put in our own money to run it, and it was unheard of, right? Like at the time. Edition was obviously simpler, easier because the first edition did so well, the fellows did so well. We didn't have trouble like raising capital because again, like I could only fund it. But I thought it'll be cooler to get a few partners on board. It helps reduce our cost to run it, and it also gives someone else like an equivalent amount of exposure. Then I looked at like, okay, what are uh, ecosystems that I would want to partner because I didn't want to partner with a lot if you partner with too many people, it's just like it becomes chaotic. Uh, Very coincidentally, Pratik from Eigenlayer had pinged me then, and we are friends anyway, so we're jamming, and he's like, okay. So I told him this is something I'm thinking about, and that led to us putting together the fellowship experience because the playbook to run a program was there. Can you give me a minute? Just 1 second. There's someone at the door.
There's KG. Now you need to find a narrator as well.
Bro, we can pause, bro. I didn't know that.
Oh, you. Uh, oh, okay.
Beautiful. Okay. So, sorry about that. Yeah. So, I was saying like
No
on the
worries.
process, right? On how we did it was, I think it's interesting to know both times because it allows for you, depending on your resource capabilities on how to run it. But uh, the core pieces were like, what's the program? And for us, it was more on bringing a few builders together in a very tight knit setting and helping them just like trauma bond fully, and that's about it. Because it meant bringing people, like we thought deeply, and I was telling Rachit also, right? Like we thought about, we could have done it in Goa, we could have done it wherever, right? Like we went to Dharamshala, which is like much harder to get to. It's an overnight journey from Delhi. First, you have to reach Delhi, and then within Dharamshala, it's not convenient, right? It's you have to walk so many steps, you have to trek all the time, you have to, but that experience is important because it leads to people getting closer with each other. It leads to people falling down and someone else picking them up. It leads to people like crying out with the like, oh shit, I can't move anymore. To people just like lifting each other, and that's important, right? Like that leads to a very different kind of bond. And so that was on like picking up the location. From a program point of view, we got this guy Akhil, who's been running programs for builders and founders and helping people ship in weeks and months, uh, to run that builder playbook, right? Because that's the core part. You need to come in, and you need to come in without an idea, just your ability to code and design. And you need to go out having built and shipped something real that gets users, with people paying you for it, right? And that changes how you feel because you've earned your first dollar on the internet. Buy a product you built, nobody gave it to you. It's not grant money, it's something you earn, and it feels different. It hits you different, even it's $10 compared to like $1,000 grant. It hits different. And that was the like fundamental view, and that's something that's our thesis on what we are doubling down on. So in terms of program
Yeah.
structuring, it looks into like an idea week, it looks into a build week, it looks into, so we break it down, right? Like there's like idea sprint where you figure out what your idea is. You There's like a build week where you shift fast and iterate fast, and they're like check-ins every 6 hours on what you're building. And then there's like the launch week, which is just as important because building isn't enough, and shipping it and finding users, and how do you find users, and that. So just we did the 3 week fellowship last time, but because it got easier to code with AI, we did like a 2 week one this time. And so that's the sort of like program component, logistics. We had one dude who runs a large place in Dharamshala that made it easier, and like because he's logistics, you won't realize is really hard, and you can't outsource the culture experience of the fellowship. And we had someone that could like really do it well, right? So we made sure it didn't feel like a crypto event, made sure it felt like friends getting together to build something cool. And this time the only differentiation we did was we increased the number of builders and we added creators. And that experiment like played out so well because that led to creators that were creating content, understanding what these on-chain projects are truly about, because they're now spending time with builders, not just building, watching them build, but also creating content around it, but also going on with like culture experiences with them and getting closer to them and realizing, oh, firsthand, okay, this dude is still thinking about that front-end problem of this, right? So it's important for them to get a pulse on, oh, okay, like this is the product, this is the user, and then helping the builder also see the importance of creating content, building in public, getting out there. Yeah, I think like we're gonna double down heavily on
Yeah.
learning from this fellowship.
One question I had, like with these kind of unique experiences, is one of your also goals where people who never thought they'd be a builder become a builder? Is that like one of the goals or objectives you also have? Like there are people out there who never want to, kind of build their own
Mm.
thing, or they never thought they could. But do you think like these experiences can change someone like that? Like some people I've seen over the year, they're either traders or just, they're on
Mm.
chain. They never thought they'll be building their own protocol, or
Correct.
they never thought they'll be building their own tool, but somehow they fell into it accidentally. Do you think like these things will help them and change their mind for some people?
Yeah, it's just that like it's harder to get in if you've not done it before. Like because the fellowship bar is so high now, and but 100%, right? Like we could get in without an experience, and maybe like there's something to think about for me on how we create like maybe top of the funnel experiences, like program experiences for people to build. But like that's 100% true. Like I didn't think I could build. Like I had zero builder product tech experience before building. So it's just a matter of like realizing that it's not that hard. Like purely like problem solving and uh,
I think it's more about bringing the right set of people together. I think
yeah,
in
true.
college, I was really fortunate that, like, luckily we had a group of 12 people, and within the 12, they're like, I was a product guy. We had a guy who was good at like Instagram stuff. We had a guy who was
Hmm.
technically sound. And that was sort of my first builder experience. But I do see that, KG. Like, it is very hard, like, for someone who's never built something to even think about, like, okay, if I'm non, especially
Hmm.
for someone who's non-technical, like it's really
Yeah.
hard to think about. So I mean, one thing that I've also seen on Twitter a lot, and a lot of people were hating on this after ETH India. They were like, the hackathons from ETH India don't result into founders. And like, I'll tell you my thesis on this. Like, I started to realize maybe for an ecosystem, like since Wormhole's not an ecosystem or an infra play, our thesis is a lot different. But for an ecosystem similar to like the Solana AI hackathon, if you have
Hmm.
a couple of projects that even have like a day or two worth of attention and they attract users to a particular mini interaction, that's still a good use out of that time spent or the resources spent on the hackathon, which I see a lot had come out of like the base fellowship, the first part, and the second one as well. Is that sort of the KPI you guys have internally? Like, how should a team be thinking about KPIs out of India, especially on the dev side?
Yeah. So you gotta like I think the way we think about it is we think in terms of like what is in terms of like what do we want to do in the short term and what do we want to do in the long term, both in terms of like capital we want to deploy, community you want to build, products we want to like shape. But to be honest, like uh, all of this is long term, right? Like it doesn't lead to founders, and yeah, of course it doesn't lead to founders. They're college kids too. So like that argument, what are you saying? So I think the so a long-term strategy on like doing hackathons, all of that, like that's top of the funnel stuff. What truly matters as an ecosystem when you're coming here are people building on your ecosystem or on your protocol or chain. And you want to do that one-on-one. You want to like be here, be present, single-handedly onboard builders one-to-one. Uh, if you think events are going to cut it, do very specific, tight-knit, 8-person brainstorming sort of events and invite like high-quality sort of people. And that's I mean, like the approach has to be very tailored to what you want to do. It can't be like just abstract. Even for the like, even if you think like for your ecosystem, the fellowship would make sense to run. It'll be really hard for you to do, right? Like without uh, explicitly knowing what goes into running that program. You'll announce a fellowship, you'll get people applying, you'll take them. Then what? Right? Like you want to create like a program that can truly help builders build better. And you want to create a program that helps builders find those users. And then you want to support those builders post the fellowship. You want to make sure all of these three pieces are like extremely tight. Uh, and you need someone like if you that has designed these programs in India to design it, because otherwise you won't get it. There's like 10 ways to game things in India. You want someone that gets India to do it.
100%. I think 100% agree that it's a long term game with all these. Like, you can't, some of these people who will kind of spend a lot of money on couple of events or hackathons, or I get it why people want to keep spending on it, because even if one of those someone works out and they build a very big protocol, that can lead to a very big outcomes for that particular ecosystem, but it's a long term game. I want to take a bit of tangent here. Like, I want to understand, the risk appetite for Indians at this point. Like, I know so many people got burnt in 2023, 2022, uh, like stuff like Vault, and like so many people I know
Hmm.
got fucked by Vault, and so many of these other CD5 or whatever. Do you think people are back, or have they recovered from that? Are those people back on chain, or do you think we are seeing like a new wave of Indian users?
Oh, I think it's it's a good question. I don't think we're seeing a new wave of Indian users. I don't think we're seeing because see, like I feel most Indian users are like centralized exchange users, and yeah, people lose money, but people get it. It's crypto. Like the connotation is such, right? So there are people that have burned their hands and are not going to touch it again. But there are going to be people that will touch it again and will make money, and then other people that will see it. It's the same cycle. I don't think that's going to change. Uh, what that does for I don't know, man. Like that's quite funny. It repeats every cycle. The moment I see like my friends putting statuses on or like or are pinging me on what to buy is when I like sell. So it's just yeah.
Yeah, and KG, like what's also interesting, like from my point of view, I actually don't think the Indian ecosystem has had a new Indian top tier builder come in and build like a
Mm.
really big protocol. Like that
Yeah.
was last cycle, Polygon, like everyone who moved to Dubai built something awesome. Like that, I haven't heard that story in a while, where someone's like, okay,
Yeah.
this.
I
So
think
that's
there's
also a
Reclaim
bit.
that's doing well. There's Huddle. There are like few Indian projects that are doing well.
Yeah.
But these are like
But again,
last
very
cycle
few, right?
projects somewhere. Like if you think about this
Yeah.
cycle, nothing's really popped up. That's like yeah, I will say Yash and the Send
Send,
boys
yeah.
like they're doing really
Heath
well. But
and
that's like
Noise.
the only one.
Yeah, but I feel like I don't know if you've seen like Heath and the Noise project, right? Like I think
Oh yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah.
something.
Yeah, we've seen that.
Yeah, those kids are like sharp too, like really sharp team. So I feel like yeah, Yash, Irfan. In fact, these two only. In fact, just today I was thinking that there are really, really like few. There are few teams that are like in stealth and building right now. There are like a few stablecoin plays. There are projects I think that are really legit. There are like some consumer projects that have been like fully hustling. Uh, but there's no Polygon, right? That's come out again. And that's what we need to do, dude. Like, honestly, my KPI, Rachit, you were asking, my KPI is to make sure I take like 10 builders to $1 billion market cap. That's it. Like, nothing else matters, right? And because everything is downstream of projects like Polygon coming out of India. And that changes how people think about India. That changes about what people within India can do for each other. The projects, the partnerships, the ecosystem building, everything can happen. But you need like serious projects and builders to come out of here first.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. I think some of that segues into like the next question in terms of like this is something for an India lead to think about, everything that we just talked about. If there's an ecosystem right now that's starting from scratch, like starting from zero, what's your advice to them? Like how, like we talked about finding an India lead. Okay, you found one. What's next? Like how do you help that person? What's like the baseline starting point for them? Let's say it's like an L1, L2 ecosystem that's trying to get builders.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think one is getting on the ground super important. You've got someone on the ground. What you need to do is make sure that this person has access to like capital, has access to community, and then has like that's about it. If you solve for capital, you solve for community and distribution. That let this person sort of cook, right? And uh, I think what based it really well was just like not stopping from doing anything, and that's important on whoever is running these things, right? Let's basically make sure that you have. I think serious founders are only looking for like two major blockers. Uh, how can I get more customers, more mind share, more distribution as one component? And then how can I raise more capital? How can I make sure that I have access to the right talent? And these are like other sort of blockers, right? And if we do these two things right, and just these two things beyond the other sort of hype and hackathons, because that's going to take a lot of your time and that's going to feel like work, but it's not going to move things. So you want to be here, you want to sort of come and find 100 builders, right? Like that's it. You want to find 100 builders. You want to specifically figure out what these 100 builders want and help them build. Uh, Take them through a 1 year journey. That's if you honestly, if you just did that, took 100 builders, spent $10,000 a builder, that's $1 million or so, and also like 10 million, whatever. Yeah, 100 builders, 10,000, right? 1 million. That's it. With $1 million, you could truly, and I mean like $10,000 in terms of the resources that you invest in the builder, right? Not as grants, but in terms of people you hire, programs you build so that they get access to distribution, that they get access to capital when required. Uh, I think those levers, if you move, you'll do well. And it's easy to look
Yeah.
at other ecosystems and think that, oh, I should be trying that. Uh, but it's really important for you to think deeply about like your specific goals and what's like the sharpest way to get there. And like highly doubt it's via like events and meetups or
Yeah.
hackathons. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned distribution. I think that's like the one of the things where you can kind of get started and build your community when you're like starting from scratch. And I know on Twitter you want to build that community first, and you're starting from scratch. Do you think like having an India-specific social strategy is very effective?
Mhm.
I think we have seen something that worked with what Rachit does at Wormhole with Wormhole India. You know that they have tailored everything to the Indian audience and slowly building that community very organically, and that will be effective over the long run. Do you think like having that kind of social strategy on Twitter and maybe other channels as well will be something that every India lead
Mm.
should do?
Yeah, honestly, we did it. We spent some time there. We got like Brainstorm that does like our social, so like they do a great job. But I think it's more on. Uh, I personally feel like my goal is to get out of the Twitter bubble, right? Like this is not where like everyone is. Everyone here is too plugged in, has five options to do things, and is not serious. Most of the time, right? So then you want to find where the serious people, where are people, and I don't think that's on Twitter. I don't think the average dev hangs on Twitter at all. So you want to go where the average dev is. It's on Instagram, it's on I don't know LinkedIn and YouTube, and you want to find ways to get like look at how many people joined Super Team because of Tanmay, right? Like it's just and that was so creative as a way to get like a comedian slash YouTuber for that. So you want to figure out from first principles. Your demographic is a 22-year-old to a 28-year-old. What is this person doing? How can I get this person's mind share? And that's not on Twitter. You want to do it for like, brand perception management and like partnerships, and that's fine. But you're not gonna find builders here that gonna just build on you because they have 10 other options with 10 other chains giving them grants to build on them. So you got to think deeply on do you really want to do it here?
Yeah, I think, and KG, just to add on like the wormhole side, I think it makes a lot more sense for us because we're essentially a layer on top of an ecosystem like Base. Like you cannot build using wormhole without building on Base or Solana or any one ecosystem, right? So for us, it's very important for us to tailor content to the Indian community. The gap that we found was we had crypto Twitter, and then as you said, we had all these anons who were Indians who were acting as white dudes. There was no one actually making like Indian references on crypto Twitter, and that's why we found a little bit of success. Like people started interacting with the whole Brijesh story. Do I think every India lead needs to do it? I think it depends on how they want to enter into the space. But if your net goal is to find new builders, I agree with Soumya there. Cool. Soumya, that brings us to our next question. What do you think? Okay, with all this stuff that we've talked about in terms of like projects coming in, paying like brokers and organizing these events, do you think that's led to projects disappearing after TGE, where they stopped doing stuff in India? Like, is that the reason why? What do you think is the difference between like a pre-TGE project doing activations in India and a post-TGE project doing activations in India?
Yeah, you're catering to different audiences, right? Like if you're a pre-TG project, you're looking for farmers. You're looking for like two categories. Yeah, either you want to quickly get builders that show something projects, so you treat it as like a dev farm, and that's fine. Then you do these meetups; it's helpful for you. Then this other category is when you or if you're post TG, then the way to do it is like you really want because then there's no incentive, right? Like you want to really build something out and create value consistently. and then you can't play that uh, game. I feel you wanna be very thoughtful about this is a budget I wanna put in here. These are the outcomes you wanna map, and just go. Yeah, I feel like you could even like one thing that has been under sort of explored, and I think a lot about is just thinking more on like doing content and virtual spaces than physical sort of setups. Build out a virtual community first and then create IRL spaces for them to hang out. If you do it the other way around, you attract mercenaries.
Yeah,
And
and
that makes
also
sense. And
where do
you go for KG.
yeah, I wanted to ask, like, which cities do you think people should really target? You know, I always feel like Hyderabad is really good, but
Yeah.
I don't get that sense sometimes. Is there a really big community here? But which cities do you recommend?
Yeah. So it depends on like your strategy. If you want to go crypto first, you're looking for a so if you break it down, right, there's like the crypto dev, like the current person who can code smart contract, right? You've got people that work at companies that work in crypto. So it could be centralized exchange, could be another like any other like sort of protocol or company. So this category, if you want to go, you focus on Twitter, and you'll find everyone. Right? You don't need to do IRL stuff. If you want to go the like just one degree lower and you want to focus not on crypto but you want to focus on tech, you broaden it, and you want to do it in say you, so within tech you would want to focus on like top tier startups and their employees. Then you focus on Bangalore, you focus on Hyderabad, you focus on Pune, and that's it, right? I feel like you would skip Delhi, you would skip Bombay, all of that. You focus on these three cities and you'll do well. All of this is what I think, right? This is what I think, and there's some amount of data to it, based on like our experience and based on like just in general number of people building startups and engineers in those sort of cities. And if you want like to farm devs, then you run massive college shops, right? And show like contract deployments and all that.
Cool. Samya, I know we're closing up on the hour. We usually record this at the last and then we clip it, we put it at the front. It's like our
Yeah.
clickbait. The question goes as follows. Samya, what's your number one advice to anyone looking to enter the Indian ecosystem right now?
Anyone looking to enter India, get on the ground in India. I feel like it's important. So, for example, depends on who you're hiring, right? So, if who's hiring? So, if you're like an Asia lead or if you're the head of ecosystem, come to India, meet everyone here in Bangalore, and go to like two other cities like Hyderabad or Delhi and meet people there. And once you've done that, you'll get a pulse of the market and then hire someone here. Ideally, like do 5 reference checks minimum on who you are hiring. It's because you're going to put in a lot of money. It's really important that you hire the right person. Don't necessarily restrict yourself to crypto. Uh, if you there's a huge possibility that you can hire like real talent and someone that will think from first principles without being in crypto. Because like if you're in crypto, you've seen 10 models that work and 10 that don't work, and you bias, you think and operate like that. And it's okay to get someone from like someone who's been a founder elsewhere, wants to operate here, has a deeper pulse on India to come and build here.
That's awesome. And if you need more advice on building in India, you can always reach out to Saumya on Twitter. And thank you so much, Saumya, come for coming on. And I think we learned a lot and definitely changed my kind of viewpoint on where things stand right now. But yeah, we definitely want to see India win. And thank you so much, man.
Appreciate it, man, KG and Rajat. Thank you. Great chatting. And I'm glad we did this. I'll see you around. Just
Thanks, Samya.
Awesome.
Bye.